Um, if obviously we don't have a quorum currently, so we cannot vote or have a motion on adopting the minutes. So we do have some guests. I would like, if they want to take the time to introduce themselves, they're going to be speaking later on in this meeting. But if they want to take the time to say hello and let us know a little bit about yourselves, please feel free to do so.
Hello, my name is John Badeo. I'm a retired Air Force captain. I just want to get involved in our local community, so I figured I'd chime in. And I found Clackamas veterans. I wasn't able to attend the last couple meetings, but I figured I'd attend as many as I could and get up on our issues in an area. And I'm glad to join.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you taking the time to sit in on this meeting and want to get involved and help out. We could always use more help. So I appreciate that. Heather, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Heather Mewald. I am a veteran service officer for Clackamas County, and today I'll be talking about some changes to veterans benefits.
Thank you. I guess at this point, we still don't have a quorum, correct? I saw a couple people.
We'll have a quorum once RB gets back. He's off dealing with a quick issue, but once he's back with us, we will have a quorum.
Okay, excellent. So then I'll go ahead and move to the chair's report. The next thing on there is the call for executive officer nominations, which obviously we can't vote on that either until RB gets back as well. But I would like to at least name off the nominations that we did receive. We do have myself for chair. I did not nominate myself, by the way. RB for vice chair and Janet for secretary. So those are the current nominees that we've received, and those are the ones we'll be voting on once RB returns to the meeting. Unless there's any other nominations. Does anybody currently have other additional nominations that they've thought about since the last time we met? Please feel free. I'm seeing none. Okay, so we'll go with the nominees that we have. Upcoming member orientation. I don't believe that I took the straw poll or the doodle poll that Amy put out. I can't remember if I did or not. But did we pick a date? We do have a date. Okay, what is the date for the upcoming member orientation?
It is next Tuesday, May 3rd at from 2:30 to 4. And I just want to reiterate that all members are welcome, whether this is your first week or you've been on for 5 years. I go through several documents and help ground everyone, and warmly invite anyone who would like to attend to come. So Amy, if you'd like to maybe just resend that invitation out to make sure that, and maybe rename it member orientation, not new member, just to reiterate the fact that everyone is welcome to attend.
Thank you. So at this point, while RB is working on his deal there with the student, I guess we can move. Are we good to move to the County Veteran Services Office report? All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with that around outreach, Agent Orange and Gulf War Presumptive with Felicia Writing and Heather Maywold. I'll let you guys take it over.
Hi. So I just wanted to go over some recent changes. There's been actually quite a few things. In previous meetings, I've talked a lot about presumptive conditions. So presumptive conditions are conditions that are automatically presumed to be service connected if the veteran served during a specific period of time in a specific place. So some of the most common presumptives are the Agent Orange presumptives. They're the most well-known, I suppose. And they've been adding presumptives piecemeal over a long period of time. But earlier this year, they added bladder cancer, Parkinsonism, and hypothyroidism. So just something to know there. And then they've also added presumptives for exposure to particulate matter, which is important for Gulf War veterans, particularly, well, mainly because of burn pits. A lot of garbage, metals, toxic chemicals were burned in burn pits and probably still burned in burn pits in the Southwest Asia theater of operations. And so they've added asthma, rhinitis, and sinusitis as presumptives for veterans who have had particulate or exposure to particulate matter in the Southwest Asia theater of operations. And then they are also considering, I believe this is still in consideration, Gus, the Cost of War Act, which adds a number of cancers as presumptive conditions to veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And they're mostly, I have a list here. I don't know if you want me to read them all because probably go in one ear and out the other, but mainly they're cancers and carcinomas of the respiratory tract, so the larynx, the trachea, and the lung, different types of cancers affecting those parts. And then I think that's all I have on the new presumptives. There are some proposed changes that are broader to the rating schedule generally. So some of the most important ones are probably going to be sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is my guess is that they're going to make sleep apnea a little bit harder to get service connected for, just because now if you are service connected for sleep apnea and you use a CPAP machine, it's an automatic 50% rating. It's a very high rating. So the only language I've found is that they're going to modernize the criteria using updated medical knowledge and responsiveness to treatment. They are changing also a really common one, tinnitus, ringing in the ears. It said it's going to be treated as a symptom of underlying disease as opposed to a standalone rating. I don't know what that means. And then they're also revamping the whole criteria for mental health ratings. Mental health ratings are kind of all, except for eating disorders, every mental health rating is rated using the exact same criteria. And the one change that looks positive is that they're going to change the minimum rating to a 10%. Right now they have a possible 0%, which is stupid. And it looks like they're going to take a sort of more holistic approach to how they rate mental health conditions. So those are the changes to the presumptives and rating, proposed changes to the rating schedule that I was going to talk about. Does anybody have any questions about those? All right, and then Gus asked me to talk about the changes to the county veterans website. So Amy was going to pull that up because I thought it would probably be best just to show what the website looks like.
Gus, I see your hand. Oh, your hand was up, Gus.
Okay, so I have not had a lot of experience with this website. I haven't looked at it a lot, but I'm assuming the changes are adding the section on Vietnam veterans benefits. If we could click that, maybe. It's kind of good. It lists all of those presumptive conditions that I was discussing before, and then links to information. Each one links to information about the specific disability there. And we also have the 3 newest ones down at the bottom were also added on the bladder cancer, hypothyroidism, and Parkinsonism, which is handy. Although I noticed the links on the 3 new ones are broken, so I'm assuming that the VA's changed the website and that's why the links are broken. And then, you know, we have, I think if you just scroll down, it'll actually take us to the Gulf War benefits part. So that links to a VA webpage giving information about benefits specific to Gulf War veterans, although, and it might be good to add presumptives there too when we have those more nailed down. And then there are links to resources and of course a link to the Veterans Advisory Council and information on that. So unless Gus, if you had any more information you wanted to share about the website, that's kind of, I looked through it and that's what I saw that seemed important.
No, I great presentation, Heather. I don't necessarily have anything on the website itself. What I will just plug real quick in reference to the information that Heather provided on the new presumptives. One of the things that I really want us to understand is that, you know, this concept that I keep talking about, that a no yesterday could be a yes today. So if you encounter people that have engaged the VA before and got a no answer for some of these conditions that weren't on the list but are now on the list, they're the type of person we want to see coming back into our office and exploring those benefits. But not only that, if you engage a survivor of a veteran who you find out through the course of the conversation that a survivor of a veteran, that the veteran passed away due to one of these conditions that are now on the presumptive list, we want to engage with them as well because they could have benefits in their own right. So this is kind of a twofold kind of blessing or positive change for individuals that are, you know, veteran and military related. Just want to make sure we emphasize that piece. So thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Amy, for helping me.
Welcome.
Does anyone have any questions?
I did. This is John. That hyperthyroidism, is that a new one for the burn pit? You would have to be seen for that, right?
Hypothyroidism is actually for Agent Orange exposure. The
Oh, for
burn,
Agent Orange.
yeah, the burn pit ones were rhinitis, sinusitis, and asthma.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, and if I may, Heather, the 9 conditions or cancers that Heather was talking about, those literally just in this week were codified in federal law. So now they are something that we're going to start seeing more claims on in the near future.
Okay, thank you. I actually do have a question in regards to just using the tinnitus as an example. It said they're going to treat it as an underlying disease. If somebody if a veteran wanted to get more information, more clarification, how would they do that? Who would they contact to clarify some of these?
You know, I'm not 100% sure because these are, as far as I know, this is kind of in the far future. Like we've been hearing a lot about proposed changes to the, like a revamping of the rating schedule. And those were just kind of some highlights that I saw that were in the mix of things that they're considering. But as far as I'm aware, there's not any, there's been no changes, and I don't know when they'll actually make those changes to the rating schedule. But since I've been hearing a lot about it and people have been asking questions, I thought it would be worth just mentioning that this is something that's out there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Sorry.
No problem. And then Lori asked something about legacy claims, but I'm not sure in which context specifically.
Lori, did you want to clarify?
Those are the claims that are under the old system.
Okay, so you said something about how about a Korea War veteran that dies of bladder cancer?
Right.
So those presumptives don't apply to Korean War veterans. They apply to Vietnam veterans who are exposed to Agent Orange. And then, you know, in some cases, and this is very rare, veterans who served in Korea on the demilitarized zone during the Vietnam War were also presumed to be exposed to Agent Orange, but not during Korea, during Vietnam, just in Korea, because they used Agent Orange to defoliate the DMZ there. But honestly, we don't really see very many of those. At least I don't ever see those, but it's possible. And then legacy claims in the old system. I mean, the only context that I'm aware of the term legacy claims being used is for claims like appeals that were filed before the appeal system was revamped, which was like the beginning of 2021, I think. So those are like appeals to the Board of Veterans Appeals that have, you know, those really long-term appeals that were filed before they changed the appeal system almost 2 years ago. Those are legacy claims. But if perhaps you're meaning like grandfathering claims, like any changes to the rating schedule are not going to affect ratings that have previously been assigned. Unless you went and got a reevaluation, then you'd be reevaluated under the new system. So that's somewhere where we would have to be, you know, pretty careful about advising people if they wanted to have a rating reconsidered to consider whether or not under any proposed future changes, if those go into effect, to make sure that, you know, getting reevaluated wouldn't actually result in a worse rating. And that's something that we do though. We always kind of check to make sure that having something looked at is actually a good idea. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Gus, I see your hand up.
Yeah, if I may just add one more thing to this, for the pill side of things, one thing to know is if we have somebody who has been denied for one of these conditions, and they're in the appeals process, this law change would, by VA standards, be considered new and relevant evidence that could potentially overturn that appeal. So we might see some of those cases where they're going through the appeal and the law changes happened, and then somebody gets a decision that grants the benefit that they originally were denied for. So we are going to see some of those. I want to emphasize something here, though, really big, and part of the reason why having VSOs come in and do these presentations every so often is when we're discussing with our networks. I can't say this enough. A no yesterday could be a yes today. And this is a really good example of this type of information that could make a positive impact on somebody's claim where maybe even just 3 years ago they got told no. So definitely when you're engaging with your networks and you're engaging with veterans, don't let them keep steering away from coming and seeing us just because they didn't have a positive outcome last time, because it could be a positive outcome this time. So just want to throw that out there.
Thank you, Gus. Janet, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I had a question. I know, like, for example, my son is part of it's a registry or a couple different studies within the VA for burn pit exposure, as well as his tinnitus and that kind of stuff. Probably shouldn't, no one knows his name here, but he's pretty open about that. I was just wondering about that, like how are veterans who served in certain areas or theaters, how did they get invited to, is this something, you know, that you're aware of, to join these studies in these registries so that they have, you know, I'm assuming this is how they gather their data to make these presumptive, you know, add these diagnoses. But if you don't have enough people enrolled, you know, how do we let veterans know that this is an option, and how do they trust because he was like, I don't think I want to enroll. I don't want the VA. I'm like, you know what? It might be good because, you know, down the road, this helps other veterans as well if they make that, you know, there's that correlation, or they're able to determine that it is service related, like MS, certain blood cancers, all of those. So how did they find out about that? Is that something that through Clackamas County services? Yeah.
So since that's a VA program, and I think you're right, I think those studies are used to help determine future presumptives, because I think a lot of those presumptives are sort of based on statistical correlation and improbability, like, you know, improbable numbers of veterans exposed to certain things getting the same conditions. So my understanding is that a lot of that is through the VA healthcare system, and those programs are administered through the VA healthcare system. So I assume that that's how the majority of veterans learn about those programs, but we also advise veterans about them as well. And each VA medical center has a environmental health coordinator, and those, yeah. So when somebody asks about those, or we tell somebody about those, we give them contact information for that person, the environmental health coordinator. And that's the person who sets up those exams for those registries. And so there's an Agent Orange registry and a burn pit registry that I'm aware of. And then, you know, other studies all through the medical center.
Okay, thank you.
One thing though, just to clarify on that, is just because they're on the registry does not equate that they're going to get a benefit in a sense of service connection. VA benefits side does not communicate necessarily with the VA medical side. So again, just because somebody's on the registry does not mean that they're going to get a service connection for being on the registry. So it's very important that they do engage in the registry, but they also see us service officers to be able to do those claims work. I just want to emphasize that piece.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Backtracking just a little bit, since we do have a quorum currently, I would like to have a motion. I'll take a motion for the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting. Casey, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I have a change in the minutes.
Okay.
So I had asked Brenda if she could contact the Veterans Village and start giving us updates as far as what's going on out there. She said she'd contact that. That's not in the minutes.
Can we make a correction to the minutes?
Absolutely, I will make a correction.
Okay. With that correction, or Brenda, did you?
I'll just say I do have that information. My apologies for not forwarding it. So I'll go find that email, send it to Amy right away, and you can all see it.
I move to approve as corrected.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, now moving on to the next order of business for the nominees for executive office. We do have to vote. And for those who are just joining us, just to once again reiterate, the nominees for chair was myself, for vice chair was RB Green, and for secretary was Janet. We did not receive any other further nominations. So at this time, we'll take a vote. Now, do we vote on each individual position or?
Vote on the slate.
Okay,
And I move to approve the slate of officers as been announced.
all in favor?
Aye.
We do need a second before we can vote.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Do we have a second? I apologize. I was looking at multiple things here. So, sorry.
So Tracy, second.
Okay, all in favor of approving or voting in the
Slate.
selected slate of nominees? All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, guys. I'll get better at this. Okay, now we have enough time for this discussion. Well, the next order of business is the continuation for the survey discussion on next steps. I know that was something that we, got into quite a bit in the last meeting. We wanted to continue that going forward. So we do have some time, a good amount of time to further this discussion. So does anybody want to start us off with this one? Do you guys remember where we left off? Sorry. We were discussing the outreach, or we were discussing the survey. We went over a lot of the discussion of the survey, how we're at the point where we're trying to discuss how to better that for further outreach. And I think this discussion coincides with what we discussed at the meeting earlier in that same meeting of the social media outreach campaign and doing those kind of things. So this all ties in together. So I see Casey with your hand up.
So, and I had mentioned this before, that, doing surveys online, especially when it comes to veterans, I don't know if any of our organization has gotten a very good turnout with that. And so before, I had suggested that we talk to RB about having hands-on surveys there at the college. So the work studies could ask if somebody lived in Clackamas County, have them fill that survey out right then and there. See if Fort Kennedy would be willing to have surveys on hand as they see clients, see if they could fill out, and talk to other organizations that serve veterans within the county to get those surveys filled out. I think we would see a much better outcome. I think we'd see way more surveys filled out if we took like 2 months and did that, like in the fall, like do it in the fall, have these organizations help us get these surveys filled out. I think we'd get more information out. Back rather, excuse me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if I'm not mistaken, did we discuss shortening the survey too, right? Because we felt like the questionnaire was a little bit too many questions, and maybe that's reduced. I'm seeing Casey with her hand saying 6. Is that something we discussed? Is that a number we discussed? Or are you saying that we should probably reduce it to 6?
No, I think we did discuss it, and I think it does need to be reduced, because I will tell you the statistics say that generally after 6 questions, it's blah, 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 blah. That's what they read. And so they lose interest. So they need to be very defined, very quick answered, multiple choice, and maybe 1 or 2 open-ended questions where they can write in something. I think we'll get a much better turnout with that.
Hey, Gus, I see your hand up, Gus.
Yeah, and so just a couple of things. One, from the analysis that I provided of the survey results, to Casey's point, as a reminder, we only had 55 respondents in the time frame that we had it out there. That is 55, including the ones that we received in paper and the ones that were online. So very low number. Also, just want to keep this on the forefront of people's mind that 90% of the respondents identified as white male veteran. Additionally, over 50% identified as middle-age earners and above 52,000 or greater. The reason I really emphasize that in the survey is because there was some robust conversation as the survey was going out about making sure that we got this survey in the hands of communities of underserved veterans, right? And so we got a very low percentage of underserved veterans, and obviously a very low percentage of female veterans that responded, right? So we really don't have a robust information from that, group or demographic of veterans. Just something for us to keep in mind as we go forward. And we want to get a robust conversation so we have a better understanding of how better to serve veterans who maybe aren't coming to the table to get the benefits that they deserve. And then again, just to kind of talk a little bit about the length, I literally had one person who said, hey, really big survey, took me a while to complete. Plus, last thing I'll just throw in there, if we do an online survey, I can't emphasize enough that we had a lot of fields that were not required, so people just didn't answer them. And some of those fields were really good information that would have been nice to know. For instance, and I'll just say this again, a reflection of our office, if you're rating our office a 1-star or a 5-star, I need to know why. You need to know why, right? but that wasn't a required piece. So some people would rate us really high and didn't tell us why, and some people would rate us really low and didn't tell us why. That's valuable information. If you're going to rate an organization, no matter what the rating is, you kind of need to know why. So just some things to think about as we go forward. And I'll be quiet now and let other people have comments and questions. It looks like Larry's got something.
Yes, Larry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, one of the things is that survey tried to cover everything. And we might slim it down numbers, but also slim, what are we really looking for? The more things you get into, the more confusing you get. One of the things is, he says, okay, first I think I would ask, have you ever talked to county VSO? And then rate them, because some people will confuse the VSOs. Well, first off, they may not know what a VSO is. They confuse VSOs with a VA, because a lot of people who haven't been talked to go straight to the VA and get turned down. So again, I'm just trying to say, if we do something like that, maybe that may be 3 questions, but if you make it real quick blanks, it's not going to look like so many. So that you say, okay, have you ever seen a VSO in Clackamas County? If they say no, then the rate really doesn't mean anything because they talked to somebody else. But that's my own feeling. I'll be quiet.
Thank you for that, Larry. I appreciate it. Jen, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just, when you were talking about how the length of the survey, we do a lot of surveys within my company. It's like 70,000 employees, so it's huge. But it's determined kind of at the beginning of each year or a certain time frame what the topics might be, and they're very short pulse. They call them pulse surveys. So it's about once a quarter, and it's like 4 or 5 questions, and that's it. But it's sort of like focusing in on one topic at that point. And then, we take that information and utilize it. Like, is it, for example, this last time it was more focused on like career opportunities, growth, networking, and all of that. Other times it's been on, do I have what I need to do my job as far as, systems and, materials and things like that. And so I think sometimes those quick little short surveys, and we have much higher return rate of those surveys because it's like you just answer 5 questions. All the fields are required. There is a free text at the very end for other comments, but thinking about it maybe from that standpoint of shorter but slightly more frequent surveys, people might be more inclined to fill them out because it takes them literally like 4 or 5 minutes, maybe 10. But whatever the topic is, like you said, what do you want to focus on besides, everything in the kitchen sink? It's like this right now, this is top of mind. There's maybe these updates to the, presumptive diseases or awareness of what the council, not the council, but the, Veterans Services provides or whatever it might be. So you have to kind of hone in on what's the information you want to know right now and break it down into smaller chunks. Just a suggestion.
Thank you. That's actually a really good suggestion. I did see Lori's hand up.
Why not text blast some of the veterans that we have? The VA does it all of the time on different issues.
We don't have
I even got an invitation for a seminar for input via text message for when the Missions Act came out. And it was interactive. Maybe we could do something like that.
We don't have access to phone numbers to do that.
Or emails.
Yeah. So I keep putting my hand up and for some reason it won't stay. So I'm going to talk. So what Larry was saying, I think you need to make sure that you're saying Clackamas County VSOs, because American Legion has VSOs, the VFWs have VSOs. And so they may be filling out that survey thinking they're talking about one of those VSOs, or even, the Purple Heart, all those other organizations have VSOs. So you need to make sure that it is saying Clackamas County VSOs.
Okay.
And if I may for just a minute, sorry, Adam, if I may for just a minute, I also think what Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, what Larry is also referencing is people think that when they come in our office that we're the federal VA. And I have to explain to them all the time that we are not. We are Clackamas County employees that have access to navigating through the federal VA, and I have to explain that. So I do think there is some confusion, to Casey and Larry's point. I think there is some confusion on what we do and how we do it. And for me, I'll tell you, the biggest thing for me on a survey would be honestly awareness of our office, that we're here, the level of support that they feel like they've received in the past, and how we can get them into our office to access those benefits. So.
Larry, I see your hand up.
I lied, I'm gonna talk again. I stop veterans all the time and talk to them. And one of the things I ask them is, well, have you filed for the VA? Oh, no, I don't have any problem. And it says, do you know what you can get just by filing? Or I'm just bringing this out. The other thing is they should file even if they don't have a claim, because something may come up in the future. And somebody comes up to me and his wife or something, like, oh God, it's going to die in 3 months. What do we do about this? I says, did they ever talk to VSO? No. Well, the other thing is you got to tell people what VSO stands for. I've talked to all kinds of people in the public, you know, people in all the different kinds of departments, including the court system, and they don't know what a VSO is. So again, I'm just saying that these are some things that I run into just by talking, you know, in the store, at the gym, wherever I happen to be. And these are the kinds to get is tell them just, you know, anyway, I'm getting too far off seal, but that's the kind of thing that I run into. And then trying to get them to go, I give them my card. I says, hey, here's the VSO number for the county. It's at the bottom of my card. I don't know if they ever call or not, but anyway, that's how I make them aware of it.
That's an excellent point. Thank you, Larry. Gus, you have your hand up.
Yeah, and I apologize. I keep jumping in because there's really good information out here. But two things I just want to point out or clarify. One is I think, Larry, when you say file, I hope you mean check in or look into with the veteran service officer to see if there's a claim to be filed for, because we definitely don't encourage folks to file just you know, unless there's actually something to pursue.
Well, what I tell them is I don't know, some of them should, everybody should, okay, I could be wrong on this.
Mhm.
You should file if you were in the Vietnam War anyway, or you were in one of the other ones, just to let them know you're there. And if you have a wife, you want the wife to be connected up. So if something happens, it doesn't, I'm just talking about, I run into problems with other people.
Right.
And it may not be the right thing to say to the VSOs. If it isn't, then I won't say it anymore. But
no, I would encourage you to say, not necessarily file a claim, because that puts an expectation that a claim will be filed.
Yeah.
But maybe encourage them to inquire or get educated on what's available to them from a veteran service officer. And then what we will do, as Heather mentioned, is we will evaluate their individual situation and help them determine what's the best course of action when it comes to filing that claim.
Well, one of the things I'm talking about, and this is going too long, but even if they don't have a claim, if they let the VA know what they're here, you know, get all through all that kind of stuff. And if they have a wife, have the wife, they may never have a claim. But if they have a claim, it's, and I could be wrong, really. The claim and everything can go quicker if the VA already knows. So you're basically in the VA system, even though you're not asking for anything. So if I'm wrong, I won't say that anymore. I just, you know.
Yeah, one last thing I'll just say real quick. I don't want to say, Larry, that you're wrong. Your intent is good and solid. It's getting them to us. That I think that intent is solid, and we can help them kind of determine that path. And I think that's what your goal is, to getting them to that represent. The other thing I just want to point out, and I want to give you some knowledge on why this work is so important. Not that you don't know that, but maybe just a little bit of logistical knowledge on why this work is so important, and maybe a tool that you can use when you're engaging folks. What we know in the state of Oregon is that less than 1 in 3 veterans in the state of Oregon actually receive a VA benefit. Okay. So what that means is that 2/3 of our Oregonians that are military and veteran related aren't receiving their benefits from the VA, right? Now, some of them just aren't eligible. Let's just be honest about that. They don't have anything wrong with them, or they don't meet the criteria, whatever it may be. But I don't think it's 2/3 of the number. I think it's far less than that. So the main reason we want to do this work is we want to increase less than 1 in 3. So it's not even 1 of 3, it's less than 1 of 3 statistically. I'd love to see that number be increased to at least 1.5 in 3, or I'd love to see all veterans get the benefits they deserve. But you get my point is that we have a very low percentage of individuals that know to seek VA benefits. And so that's why this kind of outreach effort, this kind of getting information in their hands is really, really important. So thank you, Adam, for the time, and thank you, Larry.
Thank you. Paul, I see your hand up.
Yes, I would think about death benefits, even if you're really not, if you don't have any other benefit around, but death benefits in itself is making sure that veterans are fully informed and on the record in advance, so that a widow or whoever is going to be able to access those benefits easily and understand what to do. So that's just one reason why somebody should be on the record. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Does anyone else want to comment on the topic currently?
Hey, Adam, this is John. I keep trying to raise my hand, but I don't know if it's sticking. To Larry Mosley's point, even if it's not a claim, but just a sit-down discussion with the VSO to find out what they may be eligible for, like for funeral or other options that may be a part of them. Because just like was stated, 2/3 do not get benefits that probably are eligible for them. And all the vets that I talked to, they're like, oh, well, I didn't know, like the presumptive conditions for Agent Orange from Vietnam, and they've been suffering for, let's just say, prostate cancer or lung disease or diabetes. And then by then, I had one vet, he passed away before the filing was even cleared. And so just at that sit-down discussion. And if there's information, I think I'm going to go onto the website and see if there's any information I could pass on. I live in a very secluded part of Clackamas County, and most of the Vietnam and Korean vets I talked to, they are like, oh yeah, I wish I should have filed, or I tried once and I couldn't do it, or I was just, denied, and they never talked to a VSO. So I'm going to try to get that information and pass it on to my neighborhood. And so that conversation is good. And Gus and Larry are saying the same thing. It's just, I think it just went at it a different way.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Just to sum up, I just wanted to put my comments in here. So this is what I've been hearing from everyone is basically reduce the number of the questions and concentrate on what we want to accomplish, what information we're really trying to gather specifically. Janet's point, more frequent surveys. I mean, that could help, because I know that when I first joined the council, we were doing things where almost every quarter we would focus on something. There was a different focus. And maybe if we could tie that into a survey every quarter that went out that had specific questions, like if we did the first quarter was about benefits, then we would have 3 to 6 questions specifically. Have you applied for benefits? Which specific benefits are you looking for? You know, we can specify those questions for that, and we can get those vets who are looking specifically for that. Have you met your veteran service officer? And to the point of the acronyms, maybe not even using them, maybe just writing out veteran service officer, so we don't have to worry about, hey, VSO, if you don't know what this is, you know, we have to put an asterisk by, so they have to look down and say, this is what a VSO is. Let's just spell it out for them. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference. That's also what I'm hearing, more direct specific cues, text blast, if we can do that. I mean, that's something that hopefully we can do with the social media campaign. I know we're limited on phone numbers and email addresses, but I know that we do have some, and that might be a start to potentially getting more. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, with all this information, we do have an outreach subcommittee, correct? Like, we do still have an outreach subcommittee. So I'm going to take all this information because I believe I'm on that subcommittee, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to basically challenge our subcommittee to take this information and let's put something together that focuses on this outreach that we have, that we've gathered so far on what do we want to specify? What questions are we starting to look at? Let's put a structure together so we can start putting some of this in motion. And then also for the underserved and underrepresented, I'm going to put that on our, thank you. It's my dog, by the way. He's agreeing with me. He's an old Vietnam vet. I'm going to put that also, I'd like to put that also on the outreach committee for us to spread our tentacles, for lack of a better word, to find and research what organizations are there out there that serve those under marginalized communities where we can communicate with them and find these veterans that are not being served what they deserve. So again, that all has to do with outreach. Maybe we need to expand the outreach subcommittee, but that's what this is everything that I've heard, and this is kind of what I'd like to do moving forward, if we can, if other people are in agreement with that. Brenda, go ahead.
Yeah, just reiterate your thought there, Adam, about the outreach committee. I think there's a lot of great work that still needs to be done. I've got the hiccups right now. We've got a great plan that was put together that we reviewed last month. Ooh. So maybe we can see if there's any additional members who would like to join the outreach committee. I think it's relatively small, Larry and Gus, maybe. So open invitation for other members, and then, things get done when there are meetings. So maybe set up monthly meetings for that committee. So we've got time on our calendars, and we can move forward with this important work.
I think it's a great idea, but I don't do Zoom, so somebody else would have to handle the Zoom part of it, because that's part of the problem. By the way, the people are Paul and my mind went RB. Are the only ones that I know of wanting. And the problem is communicating. But I'd really like to see more of that. But if somebody can handle the Zoom and we can do it at a reasonable time, not in the mornings, but afternoon, whatever.
I'll also offer Felicia's on that team as well. So yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and that's, I think, facilitating the Zooms. I'm sure that's I think I'll be able to do that because I do have a Zoom account, so I can facilitate. Am I able to do that? Are we able to do that individually, or does it have to come through Amy, Brenda?
Let's go ahead and let Amy set them up, and it's on the county license and all that good stuff. So
okay, so can we, who do we currently have on that? Because I know I was on there. I believe Paul was on there as well. Is that correct? Yes, Paul was on there as well. Larry,
Paul, RB, and Felicia and myself. I did not know that you were on it, but that doesn't mean you weren't on it. You never talked to me, and I never talked to you about it. So you're on it. Now you just got to get the rest of it going with, okay?
Yeah, maybe I wasn't on it before.
No, you're on it now. Don't worry about it.
I'm there now because I'm all for it. So yeah, if anybody else would like to join that committee, feel free. If you need time to think about it as well, you can email us, and we'll get a roster put together so we can get this thing going and moving in the right direction and start.
Hey, Adam, who would I email to get on that committee?
You can email me. I'll put my email out there in the chat, and anybody that wants to join the committee can email me, and I'll get the list of people to Amy, and that way we'll put everyone on the same chain. And then if there's no other comments on that, I'd like to move to member comments. Do we have any member comments? Currently, I don't think we received any, did we?
I didn't receive any.
No. Does anybody have anything that you would like to say?
One thing, and since we got a second, and no, I didn't say anything about this because I don't think of these things until you're talking. If it's possible, I realize everything on the multimedia thing goes through the county. But if we being whatever, be able to share that with all the people we know. You understand what I'm saying? So you may send me something, but I got 200 and some people, most of them don't care. But then you never know who you may hit, somebody who's a relative of somebody. And you're going to get, just getting stuff out, you're going to get a lot more out there. And somebody says, hey, I saw on the YouTube the other day about, not YouTube, but on Facebook that you can do this and you can do that. And then you're gonna get more people involved, but you've got to be able to share it. You don't want everybody sharing it, I guess. I'm just bringing that up as something to think about for the county, because I know they have to be careful what they do.
Right, absolutely right. So I mean, I agree. I think that's a great way to get to that person who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. I saw Tracy's hand up, and also Casey. I think Casey was up before, but her hand kept dropping. Go ahead.
Casey.
It just won't stay there. I kept trying to keep it up there. So I actually have 2 requests. One, I think it'd be really cool if we started listing what type of veterans organizations are within Clackamas County and inviting a new organization to come on a monthly basis to talk about their organization. We need to know who these people are. 2, all this information that everybody keeps putting in the chat, can we please add that to the minutes? Like websites and all this stuff it's because me trying to scroll through chat, then I lose track of what's being talked about. So if somebody can capture that and add it to the minutes, that'd be great. That's all I have.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Tracy, go ahead.
I just have a quick question. Amy, are we still open for people to apply for vacancies?
We need to reopen once again.
Okay.
It did close on April 15th. So
Okay.
whenever you're ready, we can open that up again.
If we can open it up, I do have somebody that asked me today if he could join. So
Okay.
open that back up. That would be great.
All
He was
right.
gonna try and join us today, but he had another meeting he had to do.
So that will take place. It'll be open as of next Thursday because it's every Thursday they open.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Gus?
Yeah, just one, couple of things actually. Since we're talking about opening up for back, just a plug to John, when that opens up, might be some good information to go grab for yourself there as far as the application and whatnot. Then the second thing is I just wanted to get a temperature check with folks since we're talking about, and I can't remember in this conversation who talked about putting information out. But over the last couple of months, Amy randomly on my request has sent each of the back members different updates of information that has come from me that I've received from my network. Is that working for you guys to be able to send out to your network? Would you like to see more of that? Because we can do more of that. I want to be careful that I'm not flooding people's emails with just useless information, but like when the Agent Orange presumptive stuff changed, I want to make sure you were aware of it. And then on the other side of that, we really do want to create a calendar of events. We've talked about it. I know Amy's worked with me a little bit. You've seen some calendar events. I do think at some point that, there's a lot of events that are happening. To Casey's point, there's a lot of different organizations and whatnot in the county. And so if we could have a centralized calendar of events that we could publish every so often and maybe even put on a website, that I think that would be valuable. So just something to kind of put out there. Yeah. Larry, I saw your hand up when I was saying stuff. Yes.
Thank you, Gus.
Oh, that's all right. I don't know what kind of heading Amy is putting on those emails, but I get hundreds of emails. Okay. And I go through and I look at the heading, and if it doesn't hit me, I delete it. So if we can make it somehow so that it's easier for me to see, I'll try to be more careful about looking for what it comes from. But that's part of the problem, because I'm not sure I saw those, and it was my fault. But
So Larry, what would you suggest? Because I mean, I have some ideas, but what would you suggest that would trigger you?
just something in the headlight that says, VAC or VSO transfer, something like that, because that I would see. That's all. But if it just says this is something from Amy, I might not look at it. Sorry, Amy.
What? Okay.
No worries.
We can definitely work on something that'll draw your attention to emphasize the fact that it's a VAC informational some catchy phrase that, like from the desk of Gus or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate those, because I do try to, as much as I can, try to get those out into, I just copy and paste into social media and on my Facebook and try to share it with whoever I can. But if there's no other, is there any other member comments? Because if not, I'd like to move to public comment.
I would like to,
Go
one
ahead.
last thing.
Sure.
I would love to put up on Nextdoor a posting, but and I'm a lead in Nextdoor, and I can post up some things and it'll cover a lot of places, but I would love to have some input before I do it. I would like to reference, obviously, the Clackamas County's website and where veterans can go in. But maybe we should take a look and see if this Nextdoor platform might open up doors and put together a kind of a blast. And Gus, if you or the team could kind of think that through and then let me post it up as a blast on Nextdoor, and let's see what happens.
So Adam, if I may for a second, real
Yeah.
quick. Paul, great idea. I'm just going to offer to you that in our communications plan that Scott Clemens from our PGA office gave to us, there is a plan to do some social media related stuff next door as an example. So I think if it seems appropriate, Adam, since we're trying to set up outreach meetings to have conversation around outreach, and this is an outreach type item, maybe what we could do is at that first or second meeting at the outreach, have Scott join us to talk a little bit more about that. Does that sound good?
Yes.
And I can make that happen because he's working with our office currently on some materials and outreach, and we have a whole communication plan in the county that I presented a couple of meetings ago around what we want to do to increase walk-in traffic and access traffic to our office.
But in doing so, sometimes you need an interest creating remarks, something that and again, talking about changing of benefits. Now there's these changes that are taking place, and just kind of carefully articulating that this is the time to contact Clackamas County VSO office and get an assessment. And I, but if we could put something well worded, and I take what Larry said, minimum, we need less words. So it needs to have what I call street appeal, street terminology. This, where you look at it and then you can, if it draws you in, then you can drill down. But let's keep it so easy for somebody to have to catch their interest. And for veterans, any veteran, this number makes me mad because we're not connecting, and I think we need to really sharpen our pencil on this. And Nextdoor is an example. Let's see if we could take it and see what it'll do, because we cover most all of Clackamas County very well in Nextdoor. So it's I think if this could be just a chance, and I'd love to try it.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. At this point, is there any public comments? Do we have any public comments? Nobody from the public? Okay. At this point, I will take a motion to adjourn. Right, I'm not skipping anything, right?
I make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, guys. See you at the next one.
Yes.